Now, you mentioned Azad Kashmir, which means free Kashmir. That's the portion of Kashmir that Pakistan occupies. What do you know about what's going on across the border? Is there any kind of contact? Is there a flow of information? Have you yourself been to Azad Kashmir?
Well, no, if I had been there, I would have been killed by now because if you cross the line of control, you are presumed to be a militant in Indian occupied Kashmir.
The line of control being the de facto border between Indian administered Kashmir and the Pakistani side.
Yes, yes. And in that part of Kashmir, there is a movement also, like which is a little subdued, perhaps in solidarity with Kashmiris struggling on the Indian side, where the brutalization and atrocities are much more numerous and much more heavy-handed. But there is a movement growing in that region also, which calls for a unification of Kashmir with the Indian occupied Kashmir and independence. There is a wide diaspora in Britain who are increasingly, distinguishing themselves from being called Pakistanis and want to be seen as Kashmiris.
I think it's safe to say that in 1947, at the time of partition, and for many years after, the general sentiment of Kashmiris was to accede, to join with Pakistan. But it seems in recent years there's been a major shift in opinion, perhaps seeing the collapse of the Pakistani state and all of its enormous internal contradictions, that there's been a shift from merging with Pakistan to independence. Would you concur with that?
Well, I would say that there is a sense of solidarity with the people of Pakistan, because people of Pakistan have in general supported the right to self-determination of Kashmiris. But beyond that, there was a small minority of people in Kashmir who would have wanted to join Pakistan, and it still continues to be there. But it's always been minuscule. From like 40s onwards, it was the sentiment of self-rule, translated as independence, which was most popular. And but yes, right now the kind of state of shambles that Pakistan is in, it, I mean, the people of Kashmir are really obviously, opposed to the governmental policies there, but they express solidarity with the Pakistani people.
In the first part of the revolt, which begins in 1989, Pakistani involvement is quite extensive. There are groups set up, people are brought across the border, they're given training, they're sent back into Indian administered Kashmir. That has seemed to have subsided now to a great extent. Is that correct?
Well, the thing is that Pakistan tried this in 1965. They thought that we could train Kashmiris, so that Kashmir could become part of Pakistan. But at that time, they failed. And in early 1990s as well, it was the Muslims of Kashmir who crossed into Pakistan. It was not like Pakistanis were bringing them to Pakistan. And really, the first groups that emerged in Kashmir, they were really poorly trained, badly armed. So Pakistan really did not do a good job at that. But yes, later on, ISI and Pakistani army definitely did, send in groups like, Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed, which really did not become popular in Kashmir. They continued to exist in, they were not part of the popular sentiment in Kashmir. Yes, and it has obviously in recent years, especially after 2000, when the Indian Parliament was attacked, it really came down. And right now there are, according to the official estimates, there are not more than 250 or so odd militants operating in Kashmir.
Now, since the revolt began in 1989, 70,000 Kashmiris have been killed, 8 to 10,000 have gone missing. Many tens of thousands have been wounded and tortured and displaced as well. How has the Indian state portrayed Kashmir to the international community?
Well, India is a huge market. First of all, it's really hard to talk about Kashmir in international fora because, it attracts a lot of business from abroad, and people don't want to say bad things about India, especially in keeping in view the fact that it could be a frontline state against China. So the thing is that India has also used this Islamophobic sort of line to portray Kashmiris as these Islamist zealots who want to turn South Asia into some sort of an Islamic state.
Does this become more pronounced after September 11th?
Oh yes, definitely. I mean, at that time, I remember when Americans were planning to launch attacks in Afghanistan. Jaswant Singh, who was the defense minister, or was he the foreign minister, he said that you could use our bases and you could even launch attacks in Kashmir because Al Qaeda is present in Kashmir as well. So, for sure, they use this Islamophobia to ratchet up support again, for its own efforts in Kashmir.
And internally, what is the level of knowledge of average Indians as to what's going on in Indian-administered Kashmir? Has there been an attempt to sway public opinion to support the government position?
Well, the Indian popular perception of Kashmir is based on like two things. One is how the government portrays it, as a problem of terrorism and like Pakistan trying to break up India. So therefore, it generates a huge nationalistic sentiment within India. The second is the popular Bollywood sort of an image where Kashmiris are, basically they are effaced from the landscape of Kashmir. Kashmir is seen as this paradise, as this romantic place where Indian middle class could go and enjoy in summers or roll around in the snow. And Kashmiris sort of dissolve in this landscape. They become the landscape themselves. So yeah, in the popular imagination, this has been going on for a long time. But I assume that since 2008, when these images of massive protests in Kashmir came up on the media and especially social media like Facebook and stuff, it has begun to transform the understanding. I mean, it draws two kinds of reactions. One is extreme nationalistic response, which calls for, extreme measures, even up to the extent of demographic change and genocide. But there is also another, reaction where sensible people are, realizing that Kashmir is a tragic kind of a spot on Indian democracy.